howdy everyone. The time is, well, it is 8:57 p.m. and it is October 7th. Welcome to another update from Great Lakes Weather. This is Ben Richmond. I am giving you an update regarding, wow, there has been some interesting things that have been showing up on the models, and I really want to get into those real quick with you because it looks like there's going to be a storm moving through that could impact the entire eastern half of the United States and bring pretty much everyone in that area precipitation. And down farther south, as we get down into southern Ohio, southern Indiana, and areas farther south, we could see the potential for some severe weather development. I'm also going to be doing a weather update for some places along the eastern seaboard where I will be, because I will be down in that area next week, and I will be tracking these storms as they make their way in. This is actually a shot of a dying supercell I got in the past summer down near parts of just north of Elkhart. This supercell was rotating, and you can kind of see the rotation in the video as well. It did not cause a tornado warning or anything like that, but you can clearly see the evidenced rotation with this lone supercell that did develop, despite the fact that it wasn't a very good environment for supercells to occur during the day. Just a reminder, make sure that you subscribe, and you'll keep this going, all these forecasts going, and all of the storm chasing content that will come later on. You'll keep it going. Make sure to subscribe and support a local weather enthusiast. Alrighty, let's get right into it with what is going on in terms of the weather. Alright, so what we're looking at right now is we are looking at, well, this is the SPC's website, so this is for the long range. We're actually going to look at long range models today, and we're actually going to go with these because models are agreeing rather early on a larger storm system moving through the eastern half of the United States. So we're going to look at both models and kind of compare the GFS to the Ecmwf model and what they're saying could happen with regards to the storm. Now, the SPC has already kind of seen this event start to appear on the models as well, and they have discussed it in their latest long-range discussion with the threat of severe weather, which will be in an isolated nature across parts of the Ohio and Tennessee valleys Wednesday, Thursday, and moving into the Atlantic portion of the United States by Friday. So pretty much this area is likely going to see some thunderstorms on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and some of those storms could, as a matter of fact, be strong, maybe even severe. So let's look at the models now, get a general idea. We're also going to see some snow entering the forecast in just a minute as well. So let's get into that as we move into the GFS model. Alright, so this is the current model run. This is for 7 p.m., so this was 2 hours ago. You could see that low pressure system that brought that cool air into parts of the upper and lower Great Lakes region is going to still remain over the area, that cold air, and it is actually going to take our temperatures down to freezing. There are freeze warnings in effect across much of areas from central Ohio, central Indiana, northward, unless you live near the lakeshore of Lake Michigan, where those water temperatures will keep you a little bit warmer than you would be inland. So freeze warnings are in effect across much of the Great Lakes region at the current moment, but we are going to see temperatures begin to warm back up into next week. And let's take a look at exactly what is going to be happening. So let's progress it forward. You can see we're kind of dominated by high pressure over the area. That high pressure begins to fill into the area by Saturday afternoon, and we'll start to see a gradual warming trend move in from there. And it will continue to get warmer as we get into Monday. We'll actually see temperatures rise up into the upper 60s, low 70s. Tuesday, I want you to pay attention to what we have up here. We've got an upper level trough starting to dip its way down into parts of Canada, and it's actually going to dip down into parts of the United States, and that is where our intense weather is going to start. Okay, so this is Wednesday morning, or late Tuesday night getting into early Wednesday morning. Okay, you can kind of see some rain showers starting to develop across parts of the Great Lakes region as well as areas off to the west. You can really see, look how close those isobars are next to each other. That's an indicator that there's going to be some strong wind connected to this system that we'll be moving through, and you can see that in the upper levels you do have a change in pressure taking place as well. So as we progress it a little bit farther east, you could see that according to the GFS model, it does take a dip farther down to the south. This one is not as intensely showing it as the ECMWF. Once I show you the ECMWF, it'll get a lot more interesting. But the isobars still remain quite tight across parts of Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. Likely going to have some strong winds there. In fact, let's pause the little visual here and get a look at what the wind gusts might be around this time period. Those wind gusts are going to accelerate up to possibly 40 miles an hour connected with this cold front that we'll be moving through. It is going to pack some decent wind across much of the area, and those winds will likely cause some sticks, some twigs to fall, maybe just some things you may want to secure outdoors. You might want to be aware of that. The wind speeds along the lakeshore will be close to 50 miles an hour, causing likely more high wave action, causing some issues there. But one thing to focus on is the precipitation. If we get a sounding for this event across the Great Lakes region, it's not looking as good. There is a very decent amount of low-level wind shear, but the environment is not conducive for anything severe, as the cloud bases will be really high and the tops will be very low. So not really much opportunity for a lot of moisture to settle into the atmosphere and cause some issues. So not really concerned about severe weather across the Great Lakes region here. Let's go back to a forecast loop for hour 117 is where we're at right now. Let's progress it forward further. You can kind of see some more thunderstorm development later on in the afternoon if you get a sounding. Again, the low-level wind shear is there, but it really doesn't show that curvature that we would see, and it does not look conducive for a severe event in that area. Now, I do want to look at southern Ohio and go a little bit farther south than our general area just to get a view of what could take place, because I will be in western North Carolina on this next week. So I want to get a look at this. That area is showing some marginal severe potential. The cloud tops will be higher. Cloud bases still remain high according to the GFS, but you do have low-level wind shear and not too much cape, but you do have some mid-layer cape in there that could contribute some development of some weather. So that will be interesting. That is what that model is showing, but I am more interested in what the model for the ECMWF is showing, but we'll get to that in just a minute. So let's progress it forward a little bit. You can kind of see some snowfall starting to show up in the upper peninsula. That is something that could potentially happen as this cold air mass dips down to the south, and it will kind of settle over the Great Lakes region for a little bit. If you get a sounding for Indiana, this is about around the morning. You have a temperature of 47 degrees across parts of Michigan, and up in the upper peninsula where that snow is falling, temperatures dropping down to the mid-30s. So dendritic growth zone is there, and you have that dew point matching up with it, really showing. And with that dew point close to freezing and gradually getting, actually that dew point and temperature right at freezing or below freezing, does indicate the potential for snow across much of the upper peninsula. And then that threat does tend to dip south. We will see this air mass lift off to the north again, but it does look like it may make another plunge south with the advancement of another cold front and low pressure system and trough moving in. And that is when I think the Great Lakes region could see quite a bit of their first snowflakes, October 18th. Okay, so this is getting into later on in the week. We're looking at long-range models now, so we're going to have to wait for a certain setup. But look how quickly those dew points drop away later on once we reach that dendritic growth zone. That is pretty significant. Okay, that dew point drop is going to lead to a lot more condensation, a lot of convective inhibition in the atmosphere, so nothing going to really be significant about it. But you do have that really sudden drop in dew points, which could bring some heavy lake effect snow potential across parts of the southwestern Michigan and central Indiana. So our first snow event may potentially occur October 18th, which is a little bit early for the season, but it is projected by many people that it could be a cooler than average and snowier winter. So not surprising in the least with this trip down to the south, and it looks like we may see another movement of warmer air off to the north again with the advancement of another trough later on. But that's getting into long range. We don't want to go too far out. Let's look at the Ecmwf model and compare it real quick. I'm going to close these tabs in hopes to speed up my graphic here. But you can see, once again, showing the same kind of setup that we've had currently from the beginning on the Ecmwf as well. Let's progress it forward some more. You can see, once again, following with the GFS, that warm air mass starts to make its way into parts of the Great Lakes region by Sunday, and it will start to warm up back into the upper 60s, low 70s. And the models do show a few pop-up showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday. If you get a sounding, that low-level wind shear still does remain in place, but not really a conducive environment for severe weather in any case right here. Now you can see there is a cold front starting to appear, or you can really see where that cold front is connected with that low pressure system. Again, GFS, Ecmwf both showing those really close isobars, indicating the potential for some very strong winds ahead of this storm. Look how quickly, once it reaches that moist air mass off to the east, how quickly these storms begin to materialize. Some of these storms along this line are likely to be severe, packing some marginal tornado potential. You've got some pretty decent setup for some weather here, and a little bit of curvature in your hodograph indicating some low-level wind shear that could cause some relative helicity in the atmosphere. Progressing it forward, you do have some rainfall still continuing to show itself, and then the lower level wind shear really takes off once you get down into the Mississippi Valley. These thunderstorms are likely going to pack some severe potential and maybe even some tornado potential as well. You get up into parts of the Great Lakes region, not really looking as conducive of an environment, but you still will get some rain, maybe a few sparks of lightning here and there, but nothing too significant. These photographs just show that low-level wind shear quite strongly across much of the area, and you get to see a well-defined line of rain start to develop. I like to call this the infamous fall front because we usually get one before the start of every winter, so this is not surprising. I'm going to be down in western Indiana. I want to get a sounding on this storm's approach. So if I look at it, I see that very large hodograph there, but I also see those changes in wind speed from west to east right in the lower levels of the atmosphere. That's where you get that pretty significant hodograph showing that wind shear in the atmosphere. But low tops, high cloud bases doesn't really look conducive for severe potential with these storms that might be moving into the area. So not too much of a concern with that according to the Ecmwf, because it does not show that decent setup there. But look on the back side of this thing. You can really see that trough just dipping way down into the continental United States, and looks like the Ecmwf model projects some decent snowfall potential across Minnesota as early as October 14th. So looking at this, you can really see that that temperature is going to be sub-freezing. It's going to be a little bit warmer across parts of as you get towards that dendritic growth zone, but it still does show, looks like we could see some heavy snowfall in parts of the Minnesota area as it shows up according to this this model run here. But as we continue to progress eastward, you can see that snow starts to dissipate across Minnesota by Friday morning. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a couple inches of snow from that in Minnesota, but that'll be interesting to watch. But these storms will quickly move out of the area, followed by this storm will kind of start to break apart as it lifts off to the northeast. This low pressure system is starting to stabilize a little bit more, and the trough that is causing this this pretty massive looking storm, it's not significant, I'd say, but it does look rather intimidating on the models. So the trough begins to lift off to the north, and these lines of storms may re-intensify as they approach the Atlantic. Not still showing some of that low-level wind shear, but doesn't look super intense at that moment. But the low pressure system might again rematerialize, bring some snow to parts of the New England states, and another winter storm potential for parts of Canada. So this storm has been on the models pretty consistently for the past 3 runs, so I wouldn't do a video on it unless it can remain consistent, and as of right now it has. So as we get into Thursday and Friday, I would keep an eye out for the potential for shower and thunderstorm activity, especially if you live in parts of the southeastern United States. It does look like you are going to be running into some weather. Okay, and then parts of Minnesota, Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio, showers and thunderstorms, not really anything going to be super severe, and some strong winds ahead and behind the front. So there might be some wind advisories put out, but that's not surprising given the change in seasons that we will be experiencing over the next couple of weeks. So just stuff to keep watching for, and I will keep track of it as much as I can. I'm going to be busy in North Carolina next week, but Thursday maybe potentially do a brief live stream as the storms approach my area in western North Carolina next week. Alright, that's pretty much all I wanted to show you. Thanks for watching. Hopefully all of you have benefited from this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and that is what will keep this going for who knows how long. Hopefully as long as I am still around. So hopefully this video was helpful, and stay updated. I will see you all at the next one.